on this Tuesday night. It's Rebel Report Live. My name is Michael Borky. Appreciate you guys being here. We've got some transfer portal to talk about. Ole Miss lost a couple of players to the transfer portal. We'll talk about that. Although, spoiler alert, it's standard roster attrition. It's just kind of part of the deal in today's college football. Ole Miss is also going in home with a key portal defender. We've talked about him before, but there is some movement in that recruitment, so we will talk about that as well. And then we'll get to your comments, of course. A lot of stuff going on. Texas A&M's baseball coach levied some accusations against somebody. So if you guys want to talk about that, we will. There was also a big story, or possibly big story in the college football front, revenue sharing. I don't think it should be a scary term for some people the way that others do. If you guys want to talk about that as well, we can. I'll let that come up in the chat, but we are definitely talking about Ole Miss transfer portal tonight on this edition of Rebel Report Live, brought to you by the Gregory Law Firm. Pleased to welcome in the Gregory Law Firm to the Rebel Report family. It was supposed to start in May, but it's April 30th, so we're going to start it on April 30th as well. So the Gregory Law Firm, we know in sports, especially college sports, injuries are unavoidable. Now, if you're me, you get injured all the time because it's just what happens to me. I literally took my son to lunch today with an electric heating pad with a little pouch that came with a battery strapped to me today at lunch because these dumb HIIT workouts that I've been doing, I threw out my lower back. But usually, unless you're a college or pro athlete, you shouldn't have to worry about injured. But if you've been personally injured or you have a small business or contract dispute, contact the Gregory Law Firm. DJ Gregory is his name, of the Gregory Law Firm located in Saltillo, Mississippi, to discuss your legal options. The phone number, 662-397-9799. Don't delay. Call DJ today. And by the way, save that phone number. Save that number because you may not need a lawyer today for, again, your small business and contract dispute or injury claims, but you never know when you're going to need one. That will come up out of nowhere. So here's the number again, 662-397-9799. The Gregory Law Firm now with us here on the Rebel Report. Glad you guys are with me. Let's get into it. Ole Miss had two players hit the transfer portal today. The first one, Kedrick Rosano, or I've been saying Roscano. I guess it's Risano is actually exactly how you say it. Regardless of the pronunciation, I don't mean to be disrespectful to the young man. I just don't think we're going to have to say it all that much anymore because he has hit the transfer portal. That should not be a surprise to any of you, frankly, on multiple fronts. One, if you were just kind of paying attention, absent any time you've listened to me or what I've said, but if you've just been paying attention, Ole Miss adding 3 portal running backs so far and continuing to work the transfer portal with the running back position told you, like we talked about here, they were very clearly not fully comfortable with what they had in their running back room. Clearly, they were comfortable with Ulysses Bentley because they gave him a new NIL deal. They brought him back for good reason. He's productive. But absent him, as we talked about, it was Diggs, again, a transfer that people think won't be available at the beginning of the season, and a freshman coming off a redshirt that did not take a meaningful snap a year ago. And seeing the volume of players they were adding in the portal told you that they weren't fully comfortable with what they had. This is just the result of that. I don't think Ole Miss was active in the portal because they anticipated him leaving. I think that they were active in the portal because, quite frankly, they think that they needed to, or they had the opportunity to be better at that position in that room. And so, good prospect, has a chance to be a really good college player somewhere. But as you guys know, Lane Kiffin and Kevin Smith and that offense has really, really, really high standards for the running back position. And they have great success at recruiting running backs. And so it's just kind of one of those 1 + 1 = 2 things. By all accounts, a wonderful young man who is probably going to end up having a great college career. Just wasn't going to happen at Ole Miss, and so he hit the portal to go find a place that was going to give him carries. He would not have really wasn't going to get the ball for Ole Miss this year, and so this is one of the things I like about the transfer portal. Frankly, is that somebody like him doesn't have to, get buried on the depth chart. He can go somewhere and go play, because I think with 4 years of eligibility, well, I guess 5 really, but you know what I mean. You should maximize your playing opportunity if it presents itself, and clearly it has presented itself, and you wish him well. But this is just a product of Ole Miss recruiting over somebody. Happens all the time. Very typical transfer portal stuff. So that's the first one. Shouldn't surprise any of you with what they've gotten. They have built pretty good depth in the running back room. And again, they're still in pursuit of at least one more. But even if they don't get that one more, they are still in pretty darn good shape there. But I do expect that I think there's going to be one more. But even if not, they're in good shape. So that's one. And two, I don't mean to be a jerk, but when Pete Nakos reported that Ole Miss linebacker Skylar Mann entered the transfer portal with a do not contact tag, my thought was, who? And that, again, that sounds disrespectful, but I was not familiar with this player. So if you see Ole Miss linebacker hits the portal, it isn't one of those things where you should wonder why. This is very simply one of those things that happens in college football. The do not contact tag tells you that he already knows where he's going. So you guys know how the portal works. We talk about it enough to know that you understand why that is the case and why that's happening. And it's going to be harder and harder to hold on to depth for sure. But this is one of those situations, again, just like the running back that left, whose name I butcher every single time. I guess Risano is the appropriate pronunciation that I've been saying wrong the entire time. But very similar to that, it's you're going to lose more guys if they're not going to play, and neither of these two we're going to play much for Ole Miss this year. The final news item of the day, at least when it comes to Ole Miss and the transfer portal, a name that you know way too well, Tyler Barron. Ole Miss is going in home with him as he is seemingly set to make a decision between Ole Miss and Miami. I guess I saw earlier that USC was trying to make a run at him, but did visit Miami and left without committing and is taking a visit from Ole Miss. So that is obviously a good sign with portal recruiting. As you guys know, so often portal guys will take visits somewhere and then leave committed. It happens a lot more like that than in the regular high school recruiting. But visited Miami, left without committing to Miami, and is taking an in-home visit with Ole Miss. Obviously, a good sign. Ole Miss is going to get an opportunity, it seems, to give a final pitch before he would make a decision. And while there have been more defensive linemen that have hit the portal over the last couple of days that Ole Miss, I would assume, would be in on, because I do think that adding some defensive line help would be good. They have lost some depth pieces there, as well as a couple of guys from last year's team. So while they added Nolan and Uman Mielen, guys like Josh Harris are gone, and they need another rush end, in my opinion. Barron still, to me, is the best available. And so I think that Ole Miss needs to try their best to lock this up. We've talked about him before. We talked about the deal where I don't think that you should worry about it upsetting a locker room, bringing him back in, because quite frankly, if one guy could disrupt your locker room, you don't have a strong one anyway. And that is not what you should think or feel about this Ole Miss locker room. So even if he is an issue, which there's no reason to believe that he is, it's not going to ruin the locker room dynamic of that team. I think they got to go get him. And so they're getting their opportunity to make a final pitch, maybe, and we'll see if they can lock that down. So that is your news of the day in Ole Miss land. We can talk about whatever else you guys want to talk about, of course, over the next 30 minutes or so. After I tell you, the podcast is brought to you in part by Advantage Business Systems. Check them out online, absms.com. If your Mississippi business is in the market for office technology, anything from copiers and printers and mail machines to cloud storage, data security, IT projects, phone systems, if it's tech, if it's in the office and your Mississippi business needs it, absms.com is the website. Tell them I sent you. You'll get a complimentary office technology assessment. So you tell them what you need and what your budget is, and they will find a solution for you on me. That's Advantage Business Systems, absms.com. The podcast is also brought to you by Priority One Bank. Let them make you their priority like they do me. Every time I go to my Priority One Bank location, I feel like I am a part of the family because they make all of their customers a priority. They've got local loan servicing and decision-making. So you tell them, what you need, or if you need your loan serviced, it's not somebody that you hop on Zoom or talk to somebody out of state. It is somebody that is at the branch. You sit down with face-to-face because, again, Priority One Bank makes you their priority. So let's get to your comments now. Appreciate you guys being here. Well, I guess Jamarian Sharp had a worse weekend than the baseball team. Yeah, what a disappointing end to that deal. The reason why I didn't talk about it much last time was because I had somebody tell me that this is how information goes sometimes. You hear 4 or 5 different things revolving around the same story. I had somebody tell me that he shot at somebody trying to steal his car. So I was like, I'm going to wait on that because, while you probably shouldn't do that either, at least there's some ambiguity there. That's not what the arrest report says. Very, very sad that somebody he would play professional basketball, not here domestically, but it could have made money playing basketball somewhere. And maybe that opportunity will still present itself, but it's just a shame that, and I know he's dealt with some stuff personally this season too. That's not excusing anything. It's a shame that somebody with seemingly an education and a little bit of money in the bank from NIL, not a lot, but a little, and an opportunity to play professional basketball still, for some reason, believes that that's the way to conduct yourself. It's sad. It's a sad story, frankly. And I don't know, framing that may be a little oversensitive, but stories like that make me sad because how could a young person like that not seize on the opportunities given to them? It's very, very sad, very stupid, very, very stupid. Welcome in, Borky. Glad to see you. Glad to see you, man. Appreciate you being here. Unrelated to Ole Miss, but you really wanted to hear my thoughts on the Shedeur Sanders drama today. That's such a bad look. And you know what that is? That is confirmation of what the player was saying. That's the funniest thing about that. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, Colorado star quarterback, guy that is apparently supposed to go number 1 overall, which I don't buy, but some people say that that's going to happen, quoted an article written by The Athletic yesterday that highlighted Deion Sanders' cut day, basically, from last year and how he quickly turned over the roster. And one of the players talked about was Xavier Smith. And here's the headline from The Athletic, or the tease on the article. It said, Deion Sanders recommended Xavier Smith hit the transfer portal like many others. He didn't. During spring practices, Smith felt more like an extra in the background of the reality show. Frustration set in before he eventually left for Austin Peay. And all it was, and the story was going away. The story was going away because I read it, other people read it, and thought, that sucks, but that's life in college football. That's how it is. New coach comes in, previous players maybe feel outcasted. I have a feeling that previous players are less welcome, clearly less welcome at Colorado than they would be at most places, and probably treated differently when, again, the coach in the first team meeting says that I'm bringing my luggage with me and it's Louis, so you might as well hit the transfer portal. So, I don't know. It's just, it's sad. 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 because that's how he has presented himself since he took over the job at Colorado, a story like this is going to get written. The reaction to that story was basically, yeah, that sucks, but that's college football. I get it. I feel for the kids, but this happens everywhere. A day later, again, the soon to be first number one overall draft pick next year, quoted that story and said, I own, I don't, but I don't even know. I don't even remember him, to be honest. Bro had to be very mid at best. That is Shedeur Sanders quoting that article from The Athletic, proving the point of the article that existing players were not given a chance, were not treated like the new players, were cast away. They didn't even try to get to know them. That is the quarterback of the team admitting he doesn't even know, not only admitting that he doesn't know who his teammates are, but just assigning that they suck on top of that. And look, he's a college kid. College kids say dumb things. I said dumb things when I was a college kid. But myself included, people really scrutinized Caleb Williams. Spencer Rattler fell to the 5th round because of things that he said in high school. I have not seen in college Caleb Williams do anything remotely close to this. And Caleb Williams is a better player than Shedeur Sanders. Spencer Rattler's issue was when he was 16 years old in high school and he fell to the 5th round. If Shedeur Sanders' last name was not Sanders, if it was Smith, if he was the exact same player on the exact same team, but his dad wasn't primetime, his dad was just Deion Smith, he would not get any acclaim. He wouldn't be mocked as the number one overall quarterback. He wouldn't get all this attention, but he's getting it. And this is how it is being handled. I'm disappointed because I liked what Deion did at Jackson State. Although getting into it with the reporter who called him Deion and he got mad because you don't call Nick Saban Nick, and the reporter was like, "Yes, I do." And he's like, "No, you don't." That kind of crap. But that's who he is. But this kind of stuff is making them so incredibly easy to not like. And here's the thing: you can be easy to hate, and if you're good, that's good. We need villains in sports. Villains drive ratings. Villains drive a lot. They're not good. They were a 4-win team last year. The schedule is difficult this year. They flipped the roster again. There's no reason at all for this level of arrogance. If I'm an NFL team, I'm really going to draft number one overall a guy that admits that he doesn't know who his teammates are, a quarterback who doesn't know who his teammates are, and then goes on Twitter to publicly say, I don't know who he is, and he sucked anyway. That's all. It's just, I've done a 180 on Colorado. Frankly, I will enjoy watching them lose again this year. Because when people say this is good for college football, no, it's not. This is not good for college football. Nope. This is, it's making a mockery of it. North Dakota State has a chance to do something really, really funny on August 29th. That Georgia baseball stuff going on in the bullpen at A&M is wild. So you have that, and I mean, I don't know what else that could possibly look like. And if you guys haven't seen that, there's a video floating around of a Georgia pitcher very clearly putting sticky stuff on the back webbing of his glove and then going into the game and touching the back of his glove and throwing pitches. And then there's more video of him touching the back webbing of his glove in other outings. That is very clearly, I mean, there's a chance that it's just, oh, what am I doing? I mean, it is what it looks like almost always. Maybe this is the rare exception. Allegedly, whatever qualifiers have to put in there to not get sued, but it very much looks like that he's doing sticky stuff. That's not all that uncommon in baseball. You shouldn't do it. When you get caught, you should get punished, but that's kind of been a thing for a while. Jim Schlossnagle alleged that not only is there a team in the SEC that is cheating using having a live feed, but that they've been busted for it and it just hasn't come out yet. He said, quote, I don't know if people know about it yet. I'm not going to reveal it. They are hitting 306 at home and 206 on the road. I wish I could play it for you, but I mean, I guess I could off my phone. You know what? I'll do that. I'll play it for you off my phone. I know that's a very, very cheap way to do it, but that's just kind of the brand of this live stream and podcast, isn't it? Let's see. I'll play it for you.
Major League Baseball has its own portal system, and that each team is bought into. Each team gets the same exact stuff, but they cannot, there's a way for them to block a live feed to the dugout. Okay. Well, that costs money. It costs a ridiculous amount of money. College baseball doesn't have that kind of money, even the SEC. So where do you draw the line? I mean, there are ways we could wire our dugout to get the live feed. And there's a school in our league that got busted. I don't know if people know it yet. I'm not going to reveal it, but they know they had a live feed. They've had a live feed going to the dugout all year, and they're hitting 306 at home and 206 on the road. I don't know. So to me, that would be.
Whoa. And people are trying to figure out exactly who. It appears that he's got his numbers off a little bit because there is no 306, 206 in the SEC. But some internet investigators have looked into it, and it looks like Arkansas and Georgia have the biggest home road batting average discrepancies in the league. And in fact, Mississippi State is third in home road discrepancies in the league. But Arkansas apparently has the biggest one. Maybe it's them, maybe it's not. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe it's Georgia. I don't know. But there is no 306, 206, but there's 299, 211. There's 332, 250. There's 310, 233. Those are the three schools I mentioned. There's 306, 233. So, wow. But here's my issue, or here's my question is Tennessee got caught with illegal bats, remember? Got reported, extensively reported, that they got caught using illegal bats, and nothing happened. That story just completely went dark. I mean, I believe it was Outkick that broke it, right? Wasn't it Trey Wallace that broke it? I could be wrong, but or was it SEC? Anyway, it got broken, and nobody denied it at all. It just went away. So maybe this just goes away too, and they're going to be pretty upset at Schlossnagle for putting that out in the open when they were going to bury it, just like they did the bats. I don't know, but ooh, what an accusation that is. Sharp means the Gregory Law Firm. Yes, he does. A lot of us do. Save that number. Don't think Sharp had a pro career. Somewhere overseas, he could have played. I mean, you really don't have to be great to make money and play overseas. Now, there's really good pro leagues, and then there's some not so much. But, you know, it's a career. It's a job. Probably would have had chances overseas, but there's a lot of places that won't let you enter the country with a felony on your record. Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. I was looking forward to Ricino at some point down the road playing for Ole Miss, but I guess he got buried some under these portal running backs. Ole Miss might add another now to maintain depth. Yeah, I do think that they're going to add one more, but too many people frankly, too many people talked about how great he was going to be without knowing. That's why you've got to take, at least I think that you've got to take a wait and see approach, because there was no way of knowing if he'd have been great at Ole Miss or terrible. I had heard anecdotally that they thought that he wasn't ready to have an impact on this team, and so that's why they went into the portal. But just because you were a blue chip recruit does not mean that you are primed and ready to compete at the level in which Ole Miss is trying to compete. So, yeah. Like, I even have that kind of wait and see approach with most portal guys. Like the offensive line, we talked about it a bit on the show today. My question about Ole Miss is on the offensive line. On paper, they have a bunch of really good players, and we know that they can be at other places, but until it meshes at Ole Miss, we can't be totally sure. But I'm a lot more confident in the two Washington guys, for example, being very good for Ole Miss because they've been very good at the highest level. With a high school kid, you have no idea. Does it say something about also Diggs being ahead of schedule with his recovery? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but that is a good question. Kiffin only plays a select amount of players on offense. We've seen it every year. He only plays the people that he trusts to execute at a high level. That's what it is. He doesn't just choose not to play players that can make plays. It's his standard for offensive players. His standard for offensive players is just really, really high. And if he doesn't trust you to basically be perfect, he's not going to play you. If Aiden Williams, he missed an assignment in New Orleans when Trey Harris went out in the Tulane game, didn't play again. Why? Because he can't trust you. It's a bit of a perfectionist there, it seems. You think Pete and Brown take a run at Cormani McClain? It's certainly worth looking at. Now, I don't know if he's a locker room issue. I know what people at Colorado said, but I know what people at Colorado say about a lot, and I would take everything that they say with a grain of salt at this point because we've seen it, and it's often not fair or whatever. But if there is truth to it, then I would consider it because one player cannot destroy a locker room. You bring him in if he wants to come. You bring him in with the understanding that you're on a short leash because this is a team trying to compete for a championship. They have a very distinct culture. They have a very defined set of standards. And if you stray away from that, you're out. It's worth looking into. I think several options are on the table coming up for Ole Miss. Don't sleep on the staff that's working up there in Oxford. They're doing a great job. Yes, they are. And, so today was the deadline for the portal, but you will still get some names trickling out over the next couple of days because the schools have, 48 hours to respond or to complete the entry. But there were some quality defensive linemen worth looking at that hit the portal today. So there are more options today than there was 2 days ago for sure on the defensive line, but I do think they need to add there. Appreciate the super chat, and I will grant your wish. No baseball, thanks. I wasn't going to talk baseball anyway, but you're guaranteeing it now with the super chat, except for the fact that we did get asked about a coaching search deal, so I will get to that, and then I promise we're not going to talk about the Auburn baseball series. We're not going to do that Thursday either because they have to win a lot more to justify our attention beyond what are they going to do at the end of the year. If they turn it around, great, we'll talk about it. But until then, the numbers say you guys don't want to hear about it, frankly. So appreciate the super chat, though. Also, Chuck talked with Keith Carter today and apparently had little to say about coaching in tennis and baseball other than the evaluations are done postseason. Yeah, and I don't know anything about tennis at all. I have no idea what's going on there. With all due respect, I know they work really hard, but I don't know anything about tennis. I appreciate those that produce content. I am not knocking anybody that created content. I saw that. I think somebody else talked to Keith Carter today and got comment about baseball. And look, I appreciate people that create content. I do. But what did you expect Keith Carter to say? Because I saw some people get mad at his responses. They're like, why isn't he like that wasn't enough? I don't. Keith Carter is not during a season going to say, yeah, I'm going to fire his ass. If they don't win 6 of their next 9, he's gone. See ya. No. Asking him that question right now was not going to get you an answer. It's just not going to get you an answer. And if your subscribers are asking you to do it, then you got to do it, right? They're the people that pay your bills. But you're not going to get an answer because the season's not over yet. There is no reason, unless you are making the termination before the end of the season, which will not happen this year in baseball. Kermit Davis got fired before the season was over, but that was a different deal. Mike Bianco's not getting fired before the season's over, at least not right now. So what is he going to tell you? Nothing. So, yeah. And the follow-up comment to that one was Keith Carter obviously isn't satisfied with baseball, but he's not going to say anything about Bianco right now. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever, none, to comment on that. There's just not. The season's not over yet. Asking him is kind of a waste of time. Again, if your subscribers wanted to know, then you got to ask. You got to do what they say. But if you thought that asking Keith Carter about Mike Bianco's job security was going to get you an answer to a question about Mike Bianco's job security, you're mistaken. You're not going to get one. The difference between Sanders' statement and Jackson Dart's approach, he learned from Charlie Weiss, could not be more different. There's a report that the Chiefs reportedly called the Seahawks about a possible trade for DK Metcalf. Really? Was that pre-draft or is that recent? Interesting. DK Metcalf with Patrick Mahomes would be, I mean, for Seattle's sake, they need to save the rest of the NFL. I don't care what they offer you. I don't care if they offer you multiple first-round picks and whatever. But, man, could you imagine lining up Kelsey and DK on the same side of the field? Good Lord. Colorado will repeat 4-8. The idiots will come out of the woodwork questioning how that was possible. Yeah, their schedule. I was looking at it earlier. This schedule has 4-8 or 5-7 written all over it if they get off to a good start. Again, August 29th, so that's that first Thursday, North Dakota State. I mean, not a walkthrough. Scheduling them as your FCS team is really stupid, but oh well. Then they go to Lincoln, Nebraska, who's going to beat them by 30. They go to Colorado State, who took them to overtime last year. They host Baylor. They go to UCF, quarterbacked by KJ Jefferson. They host Kansas State, who will be ranked to start the season. They go to Arizona, who will probably be ranked to start the season. Arizona might be better at quarterback than Colorado is. They host Cincinnati. That's kind of a break there. They have to go to Texas Tech. That won't be easy. They have to host Utah. Kyle Whittingham's going to smoke them. They have to go to Kansas. And have you seen who Kansas has back at quarterback? Jalen Daniels is back, healthy. And then they close the year hosting Oklahoma State. There are 8 losses on that schedule. Good luck. Good luck. Any quality depth Ole Miss can add is a win. Remember last season through 4 weeks, they were missing tons of impact guys. And at the end of the regular season, too, the offensive line was so bad. Arkansas doesn't play road games. What do you mean? What do you mean? Look at a culture like Colorado and compare it to Ole Miss, they could not be more different. The messaging is totally different. Totally different. And that's the thing, right? It's multi-layered. So it's a coach that openly admits, tells his team that you might as well hit the portal because I'm bringing other guys, so see ya, without even getting to know any of them or meeting with any of them. But it's a coach that openly admits that he doesn't recruit, doesn't go on the road. Gave a BS excuse for why. Well, if I go to this school but not that school's going to be mad. Whatever. Nick Saban was great because he grinded. Ole Miss on the number 1 portal class because Lane Kiffin, after the Peach Bowl, got in an airplane and did not stop traveling the country visiting portal recruits. It's what he did. Even Lane Kiffin, who kind of had a reputation of not being, it's different now, but Lane had the reputation of not being a grinder compared to his peers in the SEC. He was everywhere. Sark is everywhere. Kirby Smart is everywhere. Why do those guys win? Because they're everywhere. Eli Drinkwitz is everywhere. That's why Missouri's winning. Ryan Day is everywhere. That's why Ohio State's winning. Jim Harbaugh was everywhere. That's why Michigan won. Kalen DeBoer was everywhere. That's why Washington won. But I can't recruit because I'll make people mad. Okay. Then you have a quarterback who misses practice to go to fashion shows, and that same quarterback admits that he doesn't even know who his teammates are. That's all cultural. And that's all stuff that we see. That's what we see. Imagine what we don't see. If it's not buttoned up on the surface, what do you think it is below the surface? Colorado's not a serious program. Very unserious. It's a reality show. Will I be at the Locked On meet and greet in Jackson around July 4th? I will not be here for that. I'm going to spend some summer away, or some time this summer away. I'll still be streaming with you guys, but I left 12 vacation days on the table last year. 11 vacation days on the table last year. Not doing that again. I'm going to take some time off. Take my boy golfing, stuff like that. But I will be at more games this year. So I will say, hey, like I'm in the Grove, where are you at? Kind of stuff with you guys, because I do want to meet some of you guys. I do want to spend more time at games this year doing this from there. I think it would just enhance a lot of things. And I mean, I get credentialed, obviously. So why would I not? Or I would get credentialed. So why would I not take advantage of that when I can? So Coach Yo landed a big fish today from all accounts. Yeah, she's recruiting like crazy. Sorry about my Pelicans. The Thunder are legit. Also wonder if LeBron has played his last game in LA and Bronny might be drafted soon to whatever team LeBron chooses. Yeah, that sucks, man. That really sucked. I mean, they lost that series when Zion went down before we even knew that was going to be the series. But it sucks to see that this is probably the end of the Brandon Ingram era, because he embraced New Orleans. He didn't big time New Orleans at all, and he works hard and he plays hard, but he has a hard time staying healthy, and he just got bullied. And man, you can't disappear like that in the playoffs and then be a max player. You can't. It's just not going to work. And he and Zion don't really work well together anyway. I mean, the team was better when Zion was healthy, but he wasn't, frankly. And it's sad, though, because I really like Brandon Ingram, and he clearly works really hard and really cared about and took pride in playing for New Orleans, which is really cool, because in basketball, you don't get that much. It's just, it's time. He was awful in the playoffs, and it makes me sad. But anyway. Yeah, and I think it's embarrassing that LeBron is going to hold an NBA team hostage to get his kid in the league when he's clearly not ready to be in the league. I mean, leave it up to LeBron. I saw on Barstool of all places, I saw the headline, but they're exactly right. Leave it up to LeBron to get embarrassed in a playoff series in an early exit and then immediately distract everybody by turning your free agency into a circus. It's true. F Arkansas. Before the conference season, Arkansas baseball played only neutral site games away from Baum Walker. Really? Should I have known that? Are you trolling me? Is that really what happened? No, they played their season opener in Fayetteville against James Madison. And they played Murray State in Fayetteville. You're trolling me. I'm an idiot. Zion going down again, shocker. Yeah, but man, he had his best, healthiest season. I mean, he played 70 games this year, and most of the games he missed were because they were holding him out on the second night of a back-to-back. So this year was different, and it's just a shame it ended that way. What if Keith Carter was the one who leaked the Kiffin Auburn thing to speed up his decision? I know for a fact it was not Keith Carter. That is an interesting hypothetical, but Keith Carter did not. He did not do that. Van Horn does a good job of keeping them good just about every season. Absolutely. Oh, Brandon, you're now see, I'm getting trolled here because you say Borky at the Georgia Ole Miss game in the Grove would be crazy. It would be, except for the fact that one of my very good friends who I love dearly is getting married in Nashville that day. Ole Miss grad. Idiot. Borky After Dark live streams in the Grove stage after College Game Day and Ole Miss tears down the goalpost in victory. You know how great that would be. What I need to figure out, for some reason, streaming off of my iPad, like it it does weird things with YouTube, and I can't figure out how to edit away from that. I don't know how to do that. I'll figure that out because bringing my computer setup and all that's probably going to be too much. So it would need to be like a device or phone or something like that with like a selfie stick or whatever, like a small setup instead of computer with the webcam. I will figure that out later. But that is something that I'm going to be doing. Um, I will be up there. No, the wedding's in Nashville. And at least to their credit, they understand like that, it's football in the South and they're going to try to accommodate people as best as they can. Like my good friend Craig got married on a fall Saturday and their reception was at a really cool venue, really great wedding. He's just a good dude. And anyway, you guys don't care about that necessarily, but at the reception, they had TVs with a big TV with the Ole Miss game on and a big TV with the state game on because they were playing at the same time. And I loved that because and they put it right above, the TVs were right above the bar too. So they like embrace the fact that, okay, it's a fall Saturday. We know you love football, but we're going to party. And it was a really good thing. It was the best that you can do for a fall wedding. So my fear is this one's going to be at like 5:00. And she went to Wake Forest. So I assume they don't really give a you-know-what about the Georgia Ole Miss game. But half of the wedding will. But I think if I understand it correctly, it's going to be at like 5 or 6:00. And that's when the game's going to be. Because it's not going to be an 11 a.m. kickoff. It'll be 2:30 or 7:30. That'll be it. And so I mean, that could possibly be the biggest game. It could be the biggest game in modern Ole Miss football history. Bigger than 2003 LSU, bigger than 2015 Arkansas, bigger than LSU last year. I mean, it could be that. And I've got to be in Nashville wearing a overly expensive rented tux, pretending to be just moved by a wedding. Oh, man. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Anyway, people are dumb. Big Ten games will take over at the 2:30 with CBS, right? Or will ABC take a shot at that? ABC is going to take that. But the best game of the SEC weekend may not be at 2:30 anymore, but there will be a 2:30 ABC game. If that makes sense. So, anyway. I got to run, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to the Gregory Law Firm for coming on with us. Very, very excited about that one. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Appreciate you. We'll be back Thursday. I expect some portal movement, some positive portal movement between now and then. So we'll talk about that and whatever else comes up between now and then. We did not get to the revenue sharing thing, which is fine. I do have some thoughts on that. I might record some tomorrow for you guys. I might do that just to get them out there. And if you watch, great. If you don't, that's great too. People are kind of sick of that conversation. But I do think you don't need to be afraid of revenue sharing if they take it one step further. And I'll explain what I mean by that possibly tomorrow if I've got some time. So thank you guys. Like the video, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.